This is the Bolder Than Most podcast, where we talk with those making bold moves in business, real estate, and life. I'm your host, Trae Jacobs. Thank you for being here. Let's jump right in. All right. Welcome back to the Bolder Than Most podcast. My name is Trae Jacobs, and today, guys, we have Dr. Avishkar. Okay, I'm gonna say this wrong. Let's try it. Sabharwal. Damn it. I was so close. So close.
That's all right. I'm
just going to call you Avishkar, or the Immigrant Doctor, as he's branded. Tell me about that, man. Where did that come from?
So, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I think we connected at RaceFest, and it has been, that was a phenomenal event. And I have heard a few of your podcasts, and I really enjoy what you do. I think what you're doing is really cool. So Thanks, I'll talk about my brand, the Immigrant Doctor. So I'm originally from India, and I'm a physician. And so it was fairly simple. I call myself the Immigrant Doctor.
That's brilliant marketing. I love it, man. I mean, it's such an easy brand. And it's just cool, man. Your logo's dope, man. Look at, if you're watching this, he's wearing a hat that's the Immigrant Doctor, and it's like the right there. What is that plus sign called in the medical field? Does that have a name?
I don't know.
No,
honestly.
It's on the it's a plus sign that you always see for hospitals with more plus signs. So it's dope, man. Did you design that yourself, or did you pay for it?
No, I paid for it. I bought it.
Okay, yeah. Well, they did a great job.
I'm not that creative.
All right. Well, what type of medicine do you practice?
So I'm a hospitalist. So a lot of people don't understand, what a hospitalist is. I'll tell you what I do. I am internal medicine trained, but I practice medicine only in a hospital setting. What that means is that I only see patients that are admitted in the hospital. I do not have an office that I go to. So I'm full-time employed by my hospital, and that's where I see my admitted patients.
Okay, so if I'm in the hospital for another issue, you're the doctor I would see that's not related to the issue that I'm currently hospitalized for. Is that correct?
It depends. So if it's a medical issue, then you would see me. Okay. If it's purely a non-medical issue, then I may not be involved in that care.
Very interesting. Very interesting, actually. I had no idea that existed. And it's called a hospitalist.
That is correct.
Nice, man. Nice. What misconceptions are there around doctors in general?
Man, I think the biggest misconception is that the XYZ is a doctor and they have a lot of money. And I think a lot of people don't understand. I was lucky now in that respect that I was lucky I don't have a lot of debt because most of my training was in India, right? But people who've trained here, I have friends who've trained here, and they have to take on a lot of debt, right? A lot of student debt. And so even though the salaries are pretty decent for a physician, people who are trained here or who have, student debt, a lot of their money goes into paying off that debt. So I think that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand about medicine. The other thing is that, if you compare medicine to other professions, the training period is very long. It's just too long, right? So in this country, it's 4 years of undergrad, then you have to go through medical school, then you go through residency, or it's 2 years of undergrad. I'm fudging up the years, but it's still fairly long compared to, somebody who's doing something else, right?
Right.
So I think that's the reason why, people start taking debt early on, and it just piles on for those years that people are not really earning the money that they're earning.
Is it worth it? Would you say it's worth it for most doctors?
That's a good question, but it's a loaded question. The reason why I say that is because I think it really depends, right? It depends on what you're in it for. And when we get into this profession, when I got into this profession, it was for the love of the profession, not for the money. Yeah. So the thing is that if you're in it for money, and that goes for any profession, right? If you're in any profession for money, purely for money, after a while you're gonna burn out, right? After a while you'll be like, it's not worth it. And it's kind of understanding what's driving you, what's caused you to be here. For me, it was like, my parents were both physicians, so I kind of had that upbringing, so I knew what they were going through, and I kind of, was in a physician family, so for me it was easy to make this decision because I'd already seen this, right?
Right.
um, it is a lot of struggle. It's not easy. There are challenges there. You need to be emotionally resilient because you do see a lot of sick people around you. You see a lot of death. I have to deal with that, and I would be lying if I said that I've never cried, uh, when I've
Yeah.
seen somebody die.
I couldn't
So
imagine that part of the job, man. I could not deal with that. I think that would eat me up. Like, yeah, that part alone. Well, yeah, the 10 years of school sucks, right? But like that part specifically, I'm just not built for that. So good on you for taking that dive, and even better, you did your schooling in India or part of your schooling in India. So not being saddled with as much that's huge, man. So
yeah, I got
congratulations.
lucky there, man. I got lucky there. So I had to do my training in India. Actually, I was a physician there. I was an attending physician in India, and then I moved here, and then I had to go through my training again over here,
Yeah,
because they don't get transferred. And so I've redid my training here in medicine, and now I'm practicing here.
yeah. How long have you been here?
I was here 2010, no, 2008 to 2011, and I went back to India. Then I came back here in 2017. I want to say 2015 or 2017 is when I came back. I think 2017 is when I came back, and
Yeah,
then I've been here since.
yeah. What keeps bringing you back to the U.S.?
I think it's about what you get comfortable with, and I think I
Mhm.
got comfortable with the way things are practiced here. And especially when you're starting out, when you look at something the way it's done. So what had happened was 2008, 2010 to 2010, I was here. So I kind of had an exposure to what the system is like and how people practice medicine over here.
Right.
Um, when I moved back, obviously when you look at something and you start comparing things, right? And that never dies. So when I moved back to India, I was like, oh, this is probably done this way over there. This is better, and this is not better. This is not good. And now it's funny. Now that I moved here, I'm like, oh, things happen a lot faster in India, but they don't happen as fast over here. You have to go through these authorizations, and you have to have these insurance things done, and blah blah blah. Um, but I think it's what I realized was that it's about choosing where you want to be, right? Every system is going to have its own challenges and problems, and every system is going to have its own good things, right? And it's all about choosing. So certainly it's not like healthcare in India is all bad. I think healthcare in India is pretty good because we have all the amenities available
Yeah.
that you need. But it's a different beast. It's a different environment that you're working in versus the US, which is a different environment. And I was more comfortable working in this environment, and so I decided to
Yeah.
come back.
And once you start comparing, comparison is a thief of joy. So anything good in either location compared, just downhill from there. Hey, I recently read a stat that India was the most populated country in the world now. Is that true?
I think it is. Either that or China. But I think it's India now. I think India surpassed China.
Wow, that's that's great. I started watching this cooking show. I can't tell you what it's called, right? But the first place I went to was India, and man, some of that food looks bomb. I was curious, bro. What is your favorite Indian dish?
Oh my God.
Yes.
I have so many favorites. This is, um, and here's the thing in India, like, there's so many things that I've not even tried, right? So because
Yeah.
India is like a conglomerate of multiple different. I can even go to say to the extent that they're like different countries because they're culturally different states.
Hmm.
Their language is different. Their food is different. They're all part of one big country, right? It's completely different. And so, from what I've tried so far, I think I would say my favorite is what we call chole bhature. Oh man,
Okay,
that's
that
dope
sounds
stuff.
good.
It's
What is it? What is
it's
it?
basically like fried dough with chickpeas. It's
Okay.
really good.
All right. Yeah, the cooking show, they were on like Muhammad Ali or something. I don't know. I was only half watching, but man, when they started showing the food, I was like, that looks so good. Um, sorry. So, let me pull this back in. All right. So, with you being a doctor, we actually had a conversation or briefly talked about this, right? Like you are pursuing the active investment side of multifamily real estate, but most doctors or high income earners would prefer to be on the passive side. um, I'm curious, why have you chosen as a high income earner to attack multifamily investments from the active side?
Oh, my parents used to invest in real estate as well, and I think I caught the bug there. They were active in India, and so investment in India in real estate is very different from investing over here. And honestly, it just keeps me occupied, man. And it's something exciting. It's something that I can build on because it's, especially large multifamily, it's more like an entrepreneurial journey, right? It's like you're building your own business from the ground up. So you lay the rules down. You
Right.
know what you're doing. You work hard on it because you want to work hard on it. And that motivated me because I'm sort of entrepreneurial in my outlook towards life. And I wanted to have something that I could build, and I think that's what drove me to be more on this side than on the passive side of things with real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just born. You're ready to go. How does real estate differ in India versus here in the US?
Yeah, in India, the debt terms are not as good.
Mm,
Mortgage terms are not as lucrative as in the US, and so a lot of times people will buy just for appreciation, not necessarily for cash flow. They'll usually buy with cash instead of using leveraging other people's money. And so that was a big learning lesson for me when I came here, because I started viewing things very differently when I came here.
yeah. What was the biggest thing that you had to like change about the way you thought about real estate once you came here?
So I used to think cash is king, but then I realized cash flow is king and not just cash. And that was the biggest change that I had to make.
That's a bar, bro. That should be your slogan. That's good. I might steal that one. that's
Yeah, go
that's
ahead.
really
Go
good.
for it.
I like that. All right. Well, I got some real estate questions coming up, but as a
Yeah, go
doctor,
for it.
right? Like you have a busy schedule, and I'm just curious, like on the multifamily side of things, what does your team look like and how did you find those people? Hey guys, my company, Paige Capital Group, is actively sourcing and buying multifamily deals. If you're looking to put your money to work, gain some tax efficiencies, and grow your portfolio while we do all the heavy lifting, go to pagecapitalgroup.com/invest. That's Page, Paige, capitalgroup.com/invest. And someone from our team will reach out. Now, back to the show.
So on the multifamily side, my team, it's funny. I was on a podcast yesterday, and I was talking about this. Um, it really depends on what your personality is, because the beauty of large multifamily, unlike small multifamily, which I've also dabbled in, which I've also explored as a space where you're the end all be all, and you're doing everything. Large multifamily requires a team to participate and to work with, right? And so what it boils down to is not just your skill set, because here's the beauty of this, right? Say, for example, you go look for a job, right? Your job profile is typically going to be based on the skills that you've acquired, right?
Right.
You don't typically go in and say, okay, yeah, this is, my personality doesn't jive with this. But with an entrepreneurial journey, what happens, you're like, okay, do I like doing this? Do I want to do this and make money doing this? And so that's what kind of happened. So we started with personality first. And so we're like, okay, what do we want to now? Now that being said, we were lucky to be in that kind of a group where we had complementing personalities, and we had complementing skills that we developed, because the skills you can develop, the personalities don't necessarily change
Yeah.
over time, and the
You
strengths
keep
that you.
saying we. Who's the we?
So yeah, I'll go into that. So this is how we kind of came together. So I was just going to talk about how we came together. So there's a group called Sub Two that Pace Morby runs, and it's a phenomenal community of people who are into real estate. The reason why I had joined that, I was always focused on multifamily. The reason why I had joined that group was because I wanted to learn creative financing when interest rates were changing. I was like, okay, how did people used to buy real estate in the 70s, 80s when the interest rates were super high, right? So that's the reason why I joined that. But what I found was a lot of people in the community were focused on the single family stuff. And what ended up happening was a few of us wanted to focus on multifamily, wanted to focus on building larger systems and, go after larger assets. So that's how I found my partners from Sub 2. So one of my partners is Andrea Garcia. She's out of California.
Shout out to Andrea.
So she has a W-2 with a real estate firm. And basically, all of us have W-2s. And so what that helps us do, and I'll talk about the other partners in a minute, but I just want to make sure that people understand why we're structured the way we're structured. All of us have W-2s. So what ended up happening was our underpinning vision was not looking necessarily for now money, but was for looking for something for the future, right? Because we had our W-2s, we are already earning our income. So Andrea works for a real estate firm. She has been in this industry for 5-6 years. She has an equity position in, I think, 1,200 plus stores already. For her firm. She does underwriting, due diligence, stuff like that. Drew Clayton, he works for a tech media company in California as well. He had some smaller assets in Columbus. I have some smaller assets in Columbus. And then we recently onboarded a fourth partner. Her name is Brandy Edgecombe, and she is now working for another real estate company. She used to be in a corporate job. She just recently transitioned to a multifamily operator, and she's working with them. So that's my team. But I think when you're forming a team, it really starts with who you are as a person, especially on your entrepreneurial journey, right? Because you got to make sure that your personalities are going to complement each other and you're going to have a common vision to go towards.
Yeah, I love it. What you have units in Columbus? I didn't know that. What kind of assets do you have out there?
I have a duplex and I have 2 quadplexes there.
Oh, yeah, 2 fourplexes. Why Columbus?
So yeah, Columbus is a good market, man. So when I started my journey, I think 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, okay, what market do I choose? I got to choose a market. And I was like, oh, every market looks awesome. Of course, you look at the data and you look at the metrics. And I was like, okay, let's just choose one out of these awesome markets. And it just happened to choose Columbus. And I love that market. The reason why I chose Columbus was because it is very diverse in terms of the job opportunities that are available, right? You have the healthcare system there. You have insurance companies there. You have Abbott has its headquarters there. Intel's building its largest plant in the world, from what I understand, next to Columbus. Honda has its plant there. There is a lot of business moving into Columbus, right? There's a lot of business moving into Columbus. So in the Midwest, it's a very, very robust economy.
Very interesting.
And so, what happens is when you have these different employers, which are in independent or unrelated fields, it sort of makes the environment a little resistant to any recession or any downturn in one particular market, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the reason why I chose Columbus as a primary market.
That's a really good point. I never really actually thought about that, right? Like having so many different types of work in one thing, in one, like Indianapolis, right? Like they say that's one of the most stable markets in the country. And I'm assuming it's because of the diversity of employment out there. So that's a really good point, man. Thank you for sharing that.
That's actually one of the markets we look at as well.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right in line. Are you guys all operating under the Immigrant Doctor umbrella, or do you have a different company that you've set up?
No. So we have a brand. So the way we structured it was we are JVing on each deal that we do together. And the reason being that when we had formed this team, we wanted to be very clear on, what the exit is going to look like, right? There's going to be an exit at some point in time in the future, whether it's going to be that we separate and go our different ways, or God forbid, somebody dies, right? So there's going to be an exit in one way or the other.
Right.
And so we wanted to make sure that the exit is as clean as possible. And so we decided that we're going to JV on each asset that we acquire instead of forming one company and be partners in that company, because we don't want that kind of a situation where there's bad blood and people are just fighting. And this way it stays very clean. Like, okay, we've acquired X, Y, and Z assets. Say there's a difference of opinion somewhere that occurs. Like, okay, fine. Going forward, we're not going to do business together. What we have together, let's just finish that.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go. I think a lot of people get stuck up on having like a formalized team, LLC, company, when in reality, what you're doing with your team is probably a better solution because of exactly what you said, right? Differing opinions, personalities changing, and some people just don't know how to act when they get a little bit of money. So I'm with it. So you're in Columbus, Indianapolis, any other markets and any other or specific asset classes that you're looking at?
So I'm in Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, and Indianapolis. And so what I do primarily for these are the markets that we're looking at with my core team, right? So it's interesting because my job or my role in the team is primarily bringing in investors to invest with us into these larger multifamily assets. So we are focused on multifamily in these markets, right? But that being said, I have to make sure that my investors' appetite for investment is also met and their needs are met as well, right? So I think diversification is important. So there are certain other partners that I have looked at in different markets, and I am exploring a few other things. For example, we're exploring a ground up construction. We're exploring another multifamily in another market with another group of operators who are very well experienced, who know what they're doing. We're also exploring strip malls. But that being said, my focus is multifamily, and that too in the Midwest, because I'm very well versed with these asset classes, and so that remains my primary focus. But I am certainly exploring these other opportunities, because the thing is with some of these opportunities, for example, a ground up construction, the returns are going to be a little higher because obviously the risk is a little higher, and so the risk adjusted returns are higher than what you would typically get with multifamily. Right. And so I want to be able to offer that to the investors that are coming with me, because I want to give them the option of, taking that if they have the bandwidth of taking a little slightly higher risk. And yes, go for it, because this will probably give you a higher, projected return. And these are all projections, of course, nothing is set in stone. But that's how kind of we're structured.
So your current set of investors, their profile or their ideal investment is just something that cash flows heavily, right? I'm assuming if you're investing in Columbus and Ohio, there's not a lot of appreciation happening out there. So,
well, you'll be surprised. In the last few years, there's been a ton of appreciation in Columbus, so you'll be surprised. But yeah, there's a lot of cash flow and there's a lot of upside. There's actually, I will say this, there's actually a lot of, I was looking at some data and I can pull it up. I think in the last 1 year or last 2 years, the rents in Columbus have gone up, 15% or something?
15%?
Something like that. Crazy. Yeah, it's a crazy number. So believe it or not, I was looking at some data. Yeah, and you would not believe it. But that's, yeah. So we had this. It's actually 17% 1 year change in one bedroom rents.
So
then this is from New York Times.
So what does that mean, right? 17% of like an average rent of like 1,500, that's a decent amount, right? But if the average rent is 750 for a one bedroom, 17% isn't that shocking. So what's the average rent for a one bedroom in this market?
I think it depends on the area. Like if you're looking at a C-class asset, it's probably going to be around 700, 750, maybe 800. If you're looking at a B area, it's probably going to be slightly higher, maybe 900 or so. And then A plus is going to be a little higher, but it's definitely lower than, your other Sunbelt markets or Florida or even New Jersey for that matter, because the rents over here are much higher than what you would see in the Midwest. Yeah, and the thing is that assets are priced proportional to that, right? So it really depends on, it's not that the assets are priced higher, the assets are proportional. So, when you're looking at these return metrics, where we look at average annual return, we look at internal rate of return. So these are like absolute metrics regardless of the purchase price per se, in the sense that it's not that X asset is as more expensive than Y asset. It's about, okay, what are the returns this X asset is giving and what are the returns this Y asset is giving, regardless of what you're buying it for.
Right. The numbers got to work out, right? The returns.
The numbers got to work out. Yeah.
And is your whole time this typical 3 to 7 years out there as well, based on your business plan?
Yeah. So we want to buy with the multifamily stuff. We want to buy typically, cash flowing stuff, and we want to buy sort of stabilized with some opportunity to add some value. And so typical hold time would be around 5 years, 7 years. We're not doing like, if we're doing a ground up construction or build to rent, there the hold times are slightly shorter. They might just be 3 years, 4 years, and the most 5 years. Usually, typically, you won't see like 7 years, 10 years, or whatever. But typically, we want to be around 5 to 7 years for our multifamily assets that we're looking at.
I love it, bro. I want to change gears here real quick. You, sir, having how do I say this? I mean, you're a doctor, right? Like you've gone through the schooling, you have a very prestigious a nice little portfolio that you've built yourself, right? Alone, right? Um, you've accomplished a lot, and I'm curious, like, what sets you apart from your peers?
you know, I, you just said, right? Comparison is what it kills joy, right? I don't compare myself to my peers just because I'm on my own path. And I don't say this to brag. I just say this because I've learned this along the way. Because really, when you start comparing yourself, well, who are you comparing yourself to? I know physicians who have done way more than I have, even in real estate, who've been way more successful than I have. And I know physicians who do not invest in real estate. And I know physicians who've done venture capital, right? So, like, who do I compare myself with? There is no comparison because I see people who are successful in very different ways. And I think I just got to compare myself to what I was doing last year and or the year before and where I am in my journey and in my path. I used to do that. I used to compare myself to a lot of people like, oh man, I'm not there. Look at this person. He's doing X, Y, and Z. And then you look at their journey and you say, okay, I think compared to where they were when they had started versus where I am, I'm probably spot on and I probably, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But am I doing better than what I was doing last year?
Are you?
I think so. I have grown tremendously in the last 1 to 2 years. I mean, every year I'm evolving, every year I'm changing, every year I'm growing.
Yeah. So just so you know, I mean, there's a lot of people who are watching you that are saying that this guy is doing very good. And if that is you and you're listening to this, just like we said, a comparison is a thief of joy. So just know that you're on your own track. Curious though, right? Like, how will you know that you've made it, or how do you define success?
Oh man, I think a lot of times we look at success as a goal to hit, right? And I used to be like that too. I was like, okay, success is going to be when I hit X, Y, and Z. And I'm sure you've experienced this in your life as well. I'm pretty sure, and people who are listening have experienced this as well. Say, for example, somebody wanted to buy an XYZ car, right? You get that car, and that joy lasts for what, 15 minutes, right? After that, you start looking for problems in that. And you're like, this is it. This is what I was striving for. And so the problem is that when you start tying those goals with your success, you're never going to be really happy, right? It's always about the journey. And I know it sounds so cliched, and I used to hear them like, what is this nonsense? Why are people saying this? It's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. Like these people are full of it because no, it's about the destination. How can they say it's not about the destination? Now, of course, destination is important because that's what keeps us motivated and keeps us going. But I think when you either hit the destination or you're about to get there, just pausing and looking at how far you've come, I think that's success. And I was actually, I love listening to audiobooks, right? So I was listening to this book called The Gap and the Gain. Really phenomenal book. I highly recommend that people listen to this book. It really talks about, how we are always looking at what's missing in our lives, right? We don't look at what we've accomplished, even in our ventures that we do in our lives, either professional, personal lives. And really, it's about appreciating what you've already gained so far in your life. That's success.
I love it. Who's that by?
I'm forgetting the name of the author, but it's a very famous book. I think
I've heard of it. I can't think of it. I have to.
I'm forgetting the name.
My books too. So I go for walks because I have.
It's a very popular book. It's a very popular book.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy. I have Audible. I have so many credits on Audible right now, so I need some books. All right. Well, let me rephrase this. Right. Like, how do you know when to take your foot off the gas?
I don't, because I enjoy this journey, right? I don't take my foot off the gas. Like, I know that sometimes I do come across as being a very intense person and, all so driven. And I've had people ask me this question, like, how do you do this? Why do you do this? What's driving you? I just enjoy it. I just enjoy the challenge because I want to do this. I think
Yeah.
that's my purpose. I feel like I need to do this, right?
Yeah.
Does it come at a cost? Yes, it does come at a cost. It takes time away from other things that I could be doing, right? Uh, but I would rather do this than watch TV. I don't enjoy watching TV as much as I enjoy, either being on a podcast, talking real estate to people, talking to other investors. I enjoy that more. And it's all about enjoyment. It's not like one is right and one is wrong. I mean, you do you. If somebody wants to enjoy something, on TV or whatever, that's perfectly fine. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that what brings me joy. And do I not watch TV? Of course I do watch TV, but it's all about what brings you joy. And this brings me joy. I'm not doing it out of a sense of frustration or I have to get somewhere, and if I don't get there, then I'm not good enough. It's just that it brings me joy to do this, and so I do it.
I'm not mad at that, right? I think even, I think about that question for me a lot too, right? Like when I have the W-2 and I don't love what I do. Like I like what I do, but I don't like where I work. So it's like, man, if I can get to the point where I have enough income or even half of what I make at my W-2 to step away and do the real estate full time, I 100% am going to do that and dive in. So I think that's kind of like the next like road mark or benchmark that I'm reaching for, to get to the next level, hopefully. Curious, Vishkar, what does abundance mean to you? Real quick, guys, if you're enjoying the show and want to help us grow, share, shoot us a 5-star rating, and follow the show on Apple or Spotify. My goal is to continue to grow and get bigger and bigger guests on the show to reach more like-minded real estate investors and help everyone be more bold and build more wealth. Now, back to the show.
Abundance means to me creating more. It's not having more for yourself. It's just about creating more around you, right? So what I mean by that is I'll tell you what happened and how I actually stumbled upon abundance. And I'll be honest, it's still a work in progress. There are times when I do go into that scarcity mindset. So we're talking about abundance mindset here. When I started my journey, even when I was younger, right? It's all about, and I see that like it's all about what can I get out of this situation? What's in this situation for me, right? It's always been about that. For me, it was like that for the longest time. And it's kind of also the way we kind of grow, right? Only one person can get the first position. Only one person can be at the top, right? But what I realized was that it just creates a very negative environment around us. Yeah. It's sort of competing because you've got to get somebody, you got to either step over somebody or you got to, it's just you have to compete. It's not a good feeling, right? Yeah. So I realized that competition is obviously inherent in medicine, but when I started looking at real estate, and I've been very lucky because I've been around a lot of people who have had that abundance mindset, and that's kind of brushed off on me. I realized that when I work with people, I can create something bigger. So it's not about what can I squeeze the most out of this particular opportunity or this particular asset. It's about why don't we work together to create a bigger opportunity and take a little bit of these opportunities as we grow bigger and bigger, because we can always create more opportunities. And so it just depends on what you believe in. I believe that I have what I need to go and create bigger and bigger opportunities, right? I can find people to work with to create these opportunities. And for example, I was looking at smaller assets in multifamily, right? For that, I would need to put in all of my capital. I would be the one doing everything. Sure, the returns would probably be higher per asset for me to take because I'm doing everything, right? And I'm controlling everything. Right. Versus now I have a team and I work with that, and we get in investors who come in as limited partners. Yes, we split the profits, but we are now looking at bigger assets, right? So in absolute terms, we're still coming out ahead than what I would have, had I done that. And I would be having fun because now I have these other partners that I'm working with. They can offload some of the work. They can do what they enjoy doing, and I can do what I enjoy doing while making money. It doesn't have to be a grind. Right. And so I think that's where the whole idea of abundance comes from. Like, do you want the whole grape or a piece of the watermelon?
I mean, are you asking me? I mean, if you're asking me, the answer is I want a piece of the watermelon, obviously.
I wasn't like that. I was like, no, I want the whole grape. And I used to be like that. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And I've had these conversations with some of the people along the way. And sometimes people will say that, yeah, we do have an abundance mindset. And then you look at their actions and you realize it's not necessarily true. And I used to be like that as well. And, even there will be instances right now in my life where I would kind of go into that mode. Then I have to check myself and be like, okay, is this really what I want to do? Is this really in line with what I believe? Then you have to understand, okay, no, that's not it. And it's but natural that it happens.
Yeah. And you brought up competition. And I think that there is a place for healthy competition. But within that healthy competition is knowing that I can win, right? But you can win too. And right. Your team can win too, right? Like just because I'm winning doesn't mean anybody near me or around me has to lose. And I think once you come to terms with that, that's when things really start to fall into place and you really start to level up. So
absolutely.
I'm just curious though, when you're down or less motivated, what are you doing? What activities kind of help you snap yourself out of it?
I usually start watching TV or I just sleep. And then I'm like, okay, the next day I'm like, all right, let's just do this. Or usually I'll turn to some books on that particular topic that is getting me down. And then I'll just listen to the books because they've given me a lot of clarity. I've gone through a lot of audiobooks, and even in the last 1 year, I've God knows how many books I've listened to, and they've really helped me. So it's either mindset book that I'm listening to or something which helps me grow internally, right? So, so I turn to that, or I will turn to, so many. I've been in touch with so many people, and I'm very lucky that I get to interact with such people who are so successful. That if I feel stuck, even yesterday I was in a funk yesterday, man, and I'll tell you this, that I reached out to somebody and I said, hey, by the way, this is how I'm stuck. What would you do in this situation? And so I have a call. So we scheduled a call. So I have I have a call with this person scheduled, I think, for tomorrow. So we're going to talk about like, okay, and these are people who are a few steps ahead of me, right? So if I'm feeling stuck, I reach out for help, whether it's in the form of, listening to some audiobook and getting some help from there, or in the form of directly talking to people who are around me, who've been there where I've been, to get that help. Because really, if somebody's already been in that kind of a similar situation, getting help from them is really, really propels you forward.
Yeah. What would you say to the people who are nervous or maybe not as confident when it comes to reaching out to somebody who's a little bit further ahead for help, like you've done?
I think here's what I will say, and I have experienced this myself, right? I have spoken to so many people so far, and some of the people may have been 2 steps behind me, 1 step behind me, right? And a lot of people have been ahead of me, right? I think what really is important is that you follow through on what you say. So it's not so much about talking to them, but I think it's about having a very concrete discussion that this is where I feel stuck. I need help on this. Not saying, hey, by the way, nice to meet you, let's stay in touch. That does not serve somebody who is 2 steps ahead of you, because they cannot give you actionable info or actionable intel on what you need. Secondly, once you get that, you have to take action on it. If you do not take action on it, that just shows to the other person that you're not serious and you wasted their time.
Yeah.
Very soon, people realize that more important than money is time, right? Time is much more valuable than money. And if you waste somebody's time and not take action on it, so you have to be very, very careful about how you're going to present the problem, what you're going to talk about, and then make sure you take action on it, because that is what people respect. They want to, so I have realized that, at least I don't know if that's really the case or I've just been lucky or what. People around me are very collaborative. They really want to help, right? But they only want to help action takers. Like, I will only want to help people who really want to take action, right? I don't want to work with people who are just going to talk to me and not do anything about it. Right? Because what ends up happening, like I said, if you have people around you who work with an abundance mindset, they want to collaborate and they want to create these bigger pies, right? How are they going to do that? They're going to work with people who want to take action, right? So they're always looking for new people to work with. So it's not about being scared about talking to them. It's more about taking the right actions and taking the right steps once you've talked to them.
I love it. Tony Robbins says every problem is a gift, and without problems, we would not grow. I think we're both fans of Tony Robbins. I'm curious, what are some of the problems that you're facing now, and how are they helping you grow?
What are some of the problems that I'm facing now? I think some of the problems that I am facing now in my particular business are, we're looking at some deals. So for example, we were looking at this particular deal, and then we had some issues with the deal in the sense that there were some evictions. So we're kind of now trying to look at it from a different angle, right? And we were all ready to go 4 weeks ago. And I was like, let's go, let's do this. Our numbers are penciling out. And last minute we get this thing from the updated financials about the asset. Like, hold on, these are not right. We got to put brakes on this. So it becomes very frustrating internally. It's good that it happened, because I do not want my investors to be in a situation where we get screwed. I don't want to be blindsided by anything, right? So it's a good thing that it happened. It was a gift to us that it happened, but it was frustrating at the same time. And so I think, I'll give you another example. Last year, the deal flow was so slow. We were like, okay, what do we do? How do we move? We're not having any deal flow. It was very frustrating. It would have been easy for us to kind of, look elsewhere or change some things that we were doing, but we kind of stuck with it, and we took that time to refine our internal processes. So even that challenge that we had last year with slow deal flow was good for us, because it helped us solidify our internal processes, which builds a very solid foundation for how we do business.
I love it, bro. I love it. Last question, and we can kind of wrap this up. So I want you to speak to the person who may be listening that might be struggling with some problems, some issues, or just general uncertainty in life. What advice would you give to that person right now to help them make it to the next level?
I think the problem, the solution to this problem starts with understanding what your next level is, like what you really want to do in life, right? You have to start with a goal in mind and work backwards, because once you know that this is where I want to reach, you can easily say, okay, let me see now who has reached this doing what I want to do. All right. So they have done this. This is exactly what I want to do. So, okay, now let me trace the steps back and see, okay, where do I need to start? How do I start? Right. And a lot of times what ends up happening is people feel like, I have to do everything. Yes, you have to put in the effort, but a lot of times you will need to find people who can help you. So it's not just who, it's not, there's a book called Who Not How. And I'm sure you've heard of that, right? So that's another book where it talks about finding resources around you and people who have those different skill sets who can help you. Because remember, we have grown as a society by helping each other. Humans thrive on this earth only for this reason, because we work collaboratively. We're not the strongest species, but we work as a team, right? Humanity would not have survived if we were not working together. So people are going to help you. People are out there to help you. And I think it's upon us to accept that help.
I love that. I love how you just put that, bro. There's a lot of little gems in here in this episode, man. We would not have survived like as humans if we did not work together, and that's so true. Like if you think about it, like yeah, dude, dinosaurs would have messed us up, but we worked together. So I appreciate that, man. Well, man, you know what? I think this has been a great episode, and just to wrap it up, I want to give you the floor. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we get out of here?
I think people are often scared of taking the first step, and I know that it can be hard. I have been there. When I started my podcast, I was like 6 months, I was debating whether I should start, what I should say and what I shouldn't say.
Been there.
And I think it's definitely hard to start to take the first step, but I think it is your responsibility and your duty actually to take that first step on your path and on your journey. So I would say don't be scared to take that step. Just take the step and you will find help along the way.
Love it, man. So where can the people find you? Where can they reach out to you?
So, if people are looking to invest with me, of course, they can go to, I have created a free, video series on to help passive investors understand how to do due diligence on operators. So, for example, if they want to invest with me, I encourage them to actually look at it so that they can understand. They can ask me the questions that they should be asking an active operator, right? So they can get it at rerxcourse.com. And they can go look at it. There's a whole PDF, there's a video series and everything. Otherwise, I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, and so they can certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, again, bro, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. I think, like I said, there's a lot of gold in this one, so I really appreciate your time today. Listeners, thank you very much for being here. I'm Trae Jacobs. This is Avishkar. Help me
Sabharwal.
out. Sabharwal.
Sabharwal.
We're out of here,
The
man.
Immigrant Doctor. That's it. The Immigrant Doctor. There you go.
Perfect. All right. Peace, guys.